Hey everybody, I'm Gina Page, President and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com. Good afternoon. We are getting ready for our African Ancestry family conversation. So I wanted to make sure that I was on time here. Got here a little early. You can do that when you are broadcasting from home. Happy Thursday to you all. Let me know where you're checking in from. Hey, Lance, nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Welcome, everybody. Nurse Charisma, thank you for being a nurse, Nurse Charisma. We've been talking about the responders and the healthcare professionals on the front lines. And so I want to thank you specifically for your work and all of your colleagues. Hello, Hubert. Nice to see you. Get Fired Up is here. Jasmine, okay, you're checking in from Florida. New Jersey in the house. Malcolm Minor, okay. We got some Black Boy Joy up in here. North Carolina. Oh, we got the UK. All right, come on, UK. This is excellent. Don't you love this connection that we have with just these little devices? Hey, Ty, South Carolina. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. We got Charleston in the house. If you all were with us on Friday, our first African Ancestry family conversation was with Darnell Clayton, and he was representing from South Carolina. Atlantic City, okay. My mother's family comes from Atlantic City. Hampton, Virginia. Okay, Atlanta. Love it. Thank you all for being here. I'm Gina Page, President and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com. We are the pioneers of genetic ancestry tracing for Black people around the world, in places like Nashville and Milwaukee and everywhere you guys are checking in from. London, we have African Ancestry family in those places. Our mission here at African Ancestry is to transform the way we view ourselves and the way we view Africa. And because we're African, we know that survival and resilience are in our DNA. And that's why we're doing these daily lives, to just have a little 15, 20 minutes of sunshine in an otherwise difficult time, and sharing the word, the excitement, the power of knowing where you're from in Africa. I'm very happy to be here with you all, and I'm glad to see so many of you joining. So we've been doing this for almost a week now. I think that's about 6 days we've been doing it so far, and we've talked to people from all over the country who have taken an African ancestry test, and they've given us their perspective. Yesterday, we were with Mr. Jacques Lashore, who is a jazz guitarist out in Inglewood, California. And hopefully you guys came over there with me to the concert that he and his colleagues did on Tuesday. Lord, the days. Show me some hearts if anybody else's days are running together. I feel like I'm just working nonstop. We talked about this in our staff meeting today. When you are at home working, it's hard to make yourself turn it off. But anyway, today we're going to be talking to an African Ancestry family member who I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, Mr. Mark Adams. Oh no, A. Claire said the pandemic ate her refund that she was going to use to get her test. That's okay. We'll still be around. We're not going anywhere. Shout out to Colorful Content, Adrena in the house. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I have not yet had the opportunity to meet Mark, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's going to be tapping in just a moment, and we'll talk to him about his ancestry and what we found for him. Hey,
how you doing, Gina?
Good, Mark. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Good. And where are you joining us from? Is it
Chicago?
Chicago. Okay, Chicago in the house. We have a lot of Chicago family. So, Mark, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. And I like to start off, when I remember, each broadcast by asking the guest to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the following words. You ready?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Africa.
The motherland.
DNA.
Uh, who I am.
Identity.
What I seek to find before I die.
That's a lot of words, and those are deep words. Okay, okay. So, Mark, tell me something about yourself. Who are you?
That's
What
a
do you
great
want the world
question.
to know about you, Mark?
Well, one, I, am human. I think that's that's the first thing. But pretty much, uh, well, just turned 29. And basically, uh, yeah, just working. Um, sorry, I'm kind of jumping. But
It's
pretty much,
okay.
yeah, just, I don't really know. What do I want the world to know about me?
Well, that's okay.
Um,
Maybe you don't want them to know anything right now. Let me ask you another question. We'll get off of that onto something else. So tell me what motivated you to want to join the African Ancestry family?
sure, that I do know. I was looking to find out, what my heritage and roots were. For many years. I mean, even like as a youth, I always asked the question, like, why am I here? Like literally,
Mm,
right? And my parents like, that's weird. No, what is my purpose? Like, that's something I always wanted to know, even before like I even knew like my identity is like a person of color, right? Or even as an
right.
American, like something I always wanted to know. And as I grew and got older, um, you know, realizing, okay, what does that even mean to be black, right? I think like most African Americans in this country, your first exposure is like usually roots. And then this is just, okay, that's your story, right? And then even like in school growing up, you don't, in context, I'm 29, right? And I feel like that's not too old, but
It's
it's
not.
like old enough where, you know, that's just it. Right. I wasn't really fortunate to have that much. I mean, as far as my family history goes back, it's just like, oh, well, you come from the South. That's where your grandparents are from. Right. And you're just labeled black. And it's pride in that, but it's also America conveniently puts that as like, yeah, that's what you are. And some people are great, right? Other ethnicities just like, oh yeah, I'm white, right? But then I don't know, it's not just black people, but then it's like there's always, well, I'm proud to be Italian or I'm proud to be Irish. And it's like you know exactly where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like I just did not have that. And I always wanted to know, and as I, uh, got older, it's like I started trying to do more research and then finding different articles and seeing that, well, hey, the first people of color, black people in this country were indentured servants. And then seeing the Olmec statue, right? That was in high school. And seeing how that looked, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's something more to that. And thanks to you, and I really do give thanks for that. Um, seeing that I'm from Liberia,
Mm,
specifically the Kru tribe, right?
right.
And I mean, the actual, that even brings up more questions. And I'm still doing research, reaching out to other Liberians. And that history is so, rich, right? With stuff that was not taught in my formative years. So, I mean, it's just, the journey's just starting. Um, the COVID-19 virus kind of puts a damper on things because it's just like, well, we're social distancing. So it's kind of hard to like get out into communities to find other Liberians to learn more about the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's a synopsis of how I got here. Yes.
Okay, very well. So let me ask you this. You brought up a good point about, and we've been talking about this on some of the other family conversations about, what we learn or don't learn as we're growing up, how we're educated. And so I applaud you for wanting to dig deeper once you got these clues. It seems like the Olmec were a clue for you, and that made you start to dig deeper and reading and exploring and researching is all so very important. Now, you mentioned reaching out to Liberian communities. So once you found out that you share, this is paternal ancestry, right?
Correct.
We your father's
100% according to
father's
your test.
father's line. So
Right.
did you actually meet Liberians? And if so, what was their reaction? Because people always ask me that question. Well, do Africans accept us? How do they react? So what was your experience?
That's a great question. Actually, sorry, I should have said that initially when you asked me what I do. So, I went to the Illinois Institute of Technology, which is here in Chicago, Illinois. So we had like the African Student Union and then the Black Student Union. And there was a bit of a cultural divide, a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, at least when I had went there. Um, and I say that to say that, one of the things too, right, is like when we would have like events, kind of like pep rally like events, you're seeing like Nigerians, Ghanaians, and everybody shouting out their country. And then it's just like
Mhm.
BSU. And it's kind of just like, I mean, granted, we'll represent, but it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Um, but because like I still, network, I reached out to mainly like the Gambians and Nigerians that I knew. And I was like, well, I never really ran across any Liberians when I did attend school, none that I know of. So, and actually, it's kind of a small community, at IIT anyway. But
Mhm.
then it's like they put me in touch with students that were there, uh, alumni that recently just graduated. So I've been in talks with them. And it's been a great experience. Actually, eye-opening to me because there are cultural similarities, and some things that are surprising to me. Like Liberia, as you know, or I don't know, some people that's joining now, that's like one of the first and only American colonies in Africa. And they really aspire to be and look at American culture. So I was kind of like, really? Because there are some aspects of the history where I was like, wow, which was eye opening to me because one nuance is black people can't be racist. Because that colony got started from freed Americo Liberians, who did enslave indigenous peoples, which would include the people I descend from, the Kru tribe. Uh, you know, well, they tried to anyways, but the Sapo, Gribo peoples. So that was just ours. I mean, it's just like really understanding, what it's like to be. Obviously the big elephant in the room was like the two civil wars they had went through.
Mhm.
But there is like a lot of beauty in that country. I've been looking at so many videos and like just reading articles, books. I'm trying to think the most recent one is leaving me. I can go pull that up, but
Listen, I'm
um,
really impressed by all the research that you've done. I want to just let people know who are just joining us. I'm Gina Page, president and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com, the pioneers of genetic ancestry tracing for Black people around the world. And I am here with my Kru cousin, Mark Adams. We traced his ancestry to the Kru people of Liberia. All he knew was that his family was from the South. And he's talking to us about his experience of learning where his family, his paternal roots go back to. So, Mark, do you have brothers and sisters?
no, actually, I'm my only child.
Oh,
Hmm.
so am I. But you know what? I don't say that I'm the only child. I say I'm the oldest, the youngest, and the favorite.
I
You
like
can't
that.
live
I
out of
must.
that one. Yes, you can have that one. So, what about on your father's side? Do you have cousins, aunts, uncles? Looks like he's about. Do you have cousins, aunts, uncles on your father's side?
Sorry, you were breaking up there. I think you were saying like, do I have like any
Yeah, I
cousins,
was
aunts, or
asking.
uncles?
Yeah, on your father's side.
Okay. Yeah, I do. So like when I found that information out, I sent it out on Facebook, tag everybody,
Okay.
people who aren't on Facebook, let them know like, hey, well, this is where you're from,
And how did they
eternally.
respond?
Um, I think it's still kind of hitting them. Like there was like Okay, but like I don't know. I'm probably like the most interested. I did have one cousin of mine. I had reached out to him. You probably might have seen him on TV. Like a few years ago, he was on. I think yeah, it was the NAACP. He had won a scholarship. His name is Frank Adams. I actually named my great grandfather. Yeah. So he actually had won that scholarship and he graduated, with his master's and he's the first member in the family that had that. So, I mean, like he was ecstatic to find out. And, I think he's transitioning now to Atlanta. Actually, I need to go call him again. But, yeah,
Make sure
no,
he's okay
he's,
these times.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, it was really nice to see that. And it's like the first thing I started looking like, okay, like feature wise, like, oh, okay, so like this kind of makes sense. Like I can believe that like face value. And then it's like the little things. Like I really love spicy food, and to see that, Liberia is on like the pepper coast, I was like, wow, as well as seafood. And why I feel so uncomfortable with Chicago weather, right? But it's just been a great journey, really just knowing who you are.
Mm,
Um,
that's awesome. Mark, I thank you for sharing this information with people. We just want, you know, people ask me these kinds of questions all the time, and I just want them to have the opportunity to be able to hear from people besides the African Ancestry nuclear team, because, everyone has a different perspective. Another thing that we get often is, well, all your results come from Cameroon or all your results come from Sierra Leone. So I'm really happy that you joined us to prove that, yes, we do find results from other countries, and the country of Liberia is one of them. We are doing these every day. So if you are watching and you're an African Ancestry family member, I encourage you to just DM us. I'd love to have you on. We're going to be doing these at least through the end of April. And if you want more information about African Ancestry, you can click the link in the bio, and that'll take you to a cool kind of fun quiz to help you learn more about.
that same crew tribe, or is it like a collection of different tribes?
So the way that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. The way that African Ancestry's database was compiled is
Hmm.
Dr. Kittles collaborated with researchers across the continent to sample the DNA from different populations. And those populations were he was advised by historians and anthropologists to make sure that he collected samples from the populations that contributed to the transatlantic slave trade, right? Because we're
Gotcha.
answering the question, where were my people before South Carolina, before Alabama, before Haiti or Jamaica or wherever? And so in the process of collecting that DNA, and this goes back now, uh, about 20 years. In the process, actually, no, 17 plus 12, about 30 years, almost 30 years. In the process of collecting the DNA, the people who participated by donating their samples, they self-reported as belonging to whatever group. And so the people that are in the database that are called crew, they reported as being crew. So I don't
Gotcha.
know whether I'm going to assume that it is probably the makeup of various sub clans, if you will, or
Okay.
subgroups within the crew. But what they told us was that they are crew. So that's what we passed along to you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you again. And we go live on Facebook every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And so I'm going to be over there shortly. If you, Mark, or anybody watching has any other questions, I invite you to join us over on the African Ancestry page on Facebook. Until tomorrow at 5, may you be happy. May you be healthy and may you be whole.